the tribal folk. The story is that he was a great lover of tribal people, and he went somewhere. The story is somewhere he went. Now people were sky clad. Sky clad is the word which is used for people who are scantily dressed, maybe covering the lower part of the body, you know. And also, this whole concept of changing clothes may not be there. After all, how do the Jaravas wash their clothes? They don't have any soaps. Just soak it and dry it. So the enthusiast administrators thought that they will dress up the people, give them dresses like ours. And so they were brought before the Honorable Prime Minister. They brought in those dresses. And it is said Nehru was very upset with this. What are you doing? And so he wrote in that piece, he wrote, do not make people a second-rate carbon copy of ourselves. Let thousands of flowers blossom. Let hundreds of schools of thought flourish. Let them remain the way they want to remain. But at the same time, there should be complete allegiance to the symbols of national unity. There's no dispute about it. And they should be open to the new institutions which are there. For example, school. The value of school. Now, who will bring out the change? Someone, local people would do it. Some people have done it. Like there are very enthusiastic people who learned and they are going back to their communities and telling them. Even for Jaravas, they have started a school. And Jarava call themselves Ang. So it's Ang school, where the children come, they have to be taught numerals, they've taught some alphabet, so that after all, how will you interact with the outside world? Say for instance, if you don't know English, what will you do in England? So you have to equip yourself with dealing with the outside world. The knowledge should be there, and some kind of changes have to come. But everything should happen gradually, slowly, and in partnership. The word you use, partnership. Yeah. Biological evolution has been relegated to the back seat. Cultural evolution has overtaken biological evolution. We are evolving culturally. I just gave you an example. In hunting, food gathering communities, if suppose I were born with defective limbs, I will not be able to survive, because I will not be able to carry it out. And as a footnote, I'll tell you, this is very interesting, and I need your attention. You see, there is no substitute to observation. You see and then you ask a question. And observation is not just seeing. Observation is hearing, auditory sense, smell, olfactory, gustatory, food, tactile. So you observe. So when I was doing my work, I observed that from the community of Raika Rebari, if there was a school teacher, he had a polio affected limb. Polio affected limb. If there was an accountant working in an office, he had a polio affected body. If there was someone who was working in any of the modern institutions, had a defect in the leg, ricket or anything. So we say no observation should be left untouched. Ask. So I started investigating, and you know what I came to know? Any boy or any girl born with a body defect was sent to the school. That was the punishment for them, because others will move out, they will go with their animals. They will lead the life of peregrination, which means going with the animals, grazing the animals. And someone who had defects in the body was going to the school. And these boys and girls entered into teaching, they became accountant, they became clerks, they moved into the, very interesting how, and immediately it occurred to me, look at how we are handling the disability. How the disability is being handled. This boy who is born with a polio affected limb will not be able to go with the animals for grazing. Impossible. Moving for hours and hours, keeping an eye on all the animals, will not be able to do, eventually will die, will not be able to survive. But cultural mechanisms have made him survive. Not only survive, but gave him a higher social standing, improved upon his economic status. So cultural evolution overtakes biological evolution. You can survive in any environment, in any climate. You can survive in Antarctica, you can survive anywhere with cultural appliances. So culture has overtaken. However, having said this, you are absolutely correct, evolving biologically. Tell me how many people sitting here have 32 teeth? No, this is what I want to tell you. You count, you'll find the last molar. Absolutely right. You'll find the last molar is becoming rudiment. Don't worry, we are all very wise, notwithstanding the number of the teeth. Why it is disappearing? Why the last molar is disappearing? Because it is not needed. It really not needed. Incisors. I don't want to touch it, the incisor. They are, have you ever noticed? They are becoming smaller. They are becoming smaller. Why? Because they are not needed. They are not needed. Do you use incisors for cutting anything? No. You have a pair of scissors. Okay. We are also losing hair, body hair. Over a period of time losing. Why? Because you don't need a hairy body. That is why you find it's disappearing. It is said by biologists. Do you know what are these called? Eyebrows. This is called supraorbital ridge. It is becoming smaller. They're not needed. They're really not needed. We are changing, and these are called micro-evolutionary processes. They are going on the body, slowly, but it will take millions of years for them to disappear. But if you have a very fecund, very fertile imagination, you can write a lovely book on what we would look like in 4,000. I'll tell you what we look like. We'll not have any hair, and also you would not need any wig. There will not be. But if everyone is bald, then what is the problem? You will not need it. You will have very small dentition. This is an indication why, why you see, look here, why we suffer from dental problems. You know this? Why? Because we don't brush our teeth after food, before you sleep, you must brush, because so no food is left there. No food is left there. You are not ungulates, keep on bringing the food and eating it and sending it back. No, so you have to take care of these things. The way in which we are evolving, micro evolutionary changes. In the same way, they are also evolving biologically. These are the same processes. However, the pace of biological evolution, it is speeded by environmental changes. Global warming. When do you realize global warming? Tell me. There was a man called Anthony Giddens. He wrote a book, Politics of Climate Change. Do read it. He said there's something called, he used his own name, Giddens' dilemma. The dilemma is changes are occurring, but we are not conscious of these changes. You see, I studied in England. For 6 years I lived in England. I went there some years ago. I was surprised. Fans were being used. Fan. And not ceiling fan, because ceiling is low. So they were pedestal fans. I was taken aback. Yesterday, one of the correspondents from Hindu came. And I said, look, you have written enough, but try to bring in these changes, environmental changes which are occurring, making people conscious that these changes are occurring and they have to be cautious about these changes. Bring about a change in your own life. This whole message of going green. So he told me about Darjeeling. No, about Sikkim. He said, I went to Sikkim. And again, there was a pedestal fan which was used. And people said, few years ago, we didn't need it. Now look, there is an example. I was born and brought up in Delhi. I have seen severe winter. The winter is not so severe now. Believe me, you are maybe 1/3 of my age. It's not at all severe. We used to wear monkey cap. Monkey cap,
Yes.
In the school, almost everyone will be in the monkey cap. It was so cold. But it's not so. Changes are occurring. And these changes are affecting all over. Sometimes people say, well, Sentinel Island, nothing is happening. No. Don't say this. Global warming is very democratic. It is going everywhere. Some of the things may be happening there also. We are not studying it. The only thing is, somewhere it may be fast, somewhere it may be slow. So changes are occurring. So we can revise our statement like this. Biological changes can be fastened. They can become more when ecological changes are occurring. And there's a dialectical relationship between these two. That is why, when Mahatma Gandhi said this very famous thing, I like this statement, the earth produces enough for meeting the needs of everyone, but not for meeting the greeds. Any reader you have on post-development.
You continue, I am also here.
Yeah. So this, where was I? Yeah, Gandhi's piece. In any volume on post-development, which is basically a topic of The Economist, they include Gandhi's piece. Why do they include? Because it has such an important message to convey. That respect your resources, respect the earth, and this is not only your earth. What about your children? What about your posterity? I remember one advertisement. This child is saying, I want to buy a bicycle. So father says, why? He says, you will consume all the petrol. I'll have nothing, so I have to go on a bicycle. Hmm? So that is why the sustainable development came. I think the most important part of sustainable development on which we build up the ethic of sustainability is posterity. Keep in mind the future generations. Your partnership is not only with people who are around you, your partnership is also your descendants who are there waiting for you to come. Don't leave a wretched word for them. Don't leave the mutilated word for them. I like this idea, the ethic of sustainability, the ethic, the moral aspects. Small things, they have to be reflected in your behavior. For example, use only that much of water which you need. Okay? Don't consume more. Don't waste. Respectfulness. I come from Uttar Pradesh, and we used to have, whenever we used to go to our places, for example, you want to wash your hand after eating. You know what we were told? Go to the tree and wash your hand there, so the water goes to the plant, is not wasted. So this is, bring about a change. And I think we must, maybe an emotional point, nevertheless important, build up this respect for resources in your children. William Hazlitt used to say, let us pass it on. Let us pass it on. When I teach my daughter, I teach my daughter's daughter. Okay? Yeah.
Assuming I'm a conscientious officer and I go to a tribal area for exploration work and I try to involve as many people of the community, even with a multidisciplinary approach, at the end of the day when the end user is not a geologist or for that matter an anthropologist, how do we negotiate with them which will lead them to believe that this is actually for their good?
Number one, alternative could be land for land, replacement value. Number two, it was money. Give them money for this. Third was someone should get employment in the government, some kind of a compensation at that level. Whichever option is taken, whichever option you go for, look at what will be its implications. Will you be able to provide that? Why people become disenchanted? Why people start thinking that they just come and they promise and then they break their promises? Because they don't get anything. It's a simple thing. Simple thing. It may be a very small thing. I had this experience in my field. I was taking some pictures of tours after asking them. And they immediately said, no, don't take these pictures because you will never send. I said, well, I will get them developed there in the town of Bikaner and I'll give you. Then they told me how some Australians came to make a film on them. And they promised that it will be sent to them, but it never came. And then word of mouth, if suppose injustice happens to me, I'm going to tell you. So we become skeptical of, so you used a very good word. I should have used this in my lecture, conscientious officer. If you are a conscientious officer, you will subscribe to, number one, an interdisciplinary understanding. This will be number one. And where you think that you fall short, where you think you lag behind, what will you do? You will seek the help of others. This is number one. Number two, you will pick up a dialogue with people. Let people not be reticent. People are reticent when they think you are a big man. If they speak, you will think they're just fools. No. you have to be a very patient listener. Allow them to speak. No harm in sitting on the floor. No harm in eating the food. You're not going to die. If you eat what they are eating, okay, you may have a little stomach upset, but you're not going to die. Huh? So this all shows respect. And just listen to them. And my advice is always, don't immediately take out your notebook and start writing. I tell you, writing is always threatening. Always threatening. Because what are you going to do with all that which is being written? You have to rely on your memory. And personally, having read psychology, I feel we are really gifted in terms of our mnemonic power, in terms of our memory. Really gifted. But we think we'll forget. We forget because we want to forget. It's a fact I'm telling you. We forget because we want to forget. If we say, no, I'm not going to forget. If something is not coming to my mind, let me wrestle with my brain. It will come. It will definitely come. So just listen to them patiently. Let us hear what they have to say. I'm sure you will also have linguistic problem. They may be speaking a different language. I mean, you're not only going to work in the area in which you live, you're going to be working in different areas. So engage someone who is an interpreter. But tell the interpreter, listen, you have to tell me what they say. Don't apply your own imagination. Don't misguide. Because these interpreters are dangerous people. They may misguide you. The concept is very complex. They will simplify this. No, you tell them. And of course, you will be giving some monetary compensation to the build up the repo. Gradually listen to them what they are saying. Why it is so. Come back, write your notes, repeat the exercise a couple of times. You will be able to build good rapport. Then have the institutional support. Well, we need this area for this work. But this is what which is going to provide it. And you have to be some kind of a, it's a bad word, but let us use it, some kind of a cultural broker, some kind of a go-between. So the things should reach them. And we have to create a community of responsible people. The administration should be as responsible as you are, or as conscientious you are. Then the things will work in a different way. Otherwise, there will be hostility, there will be alienation, and the same scenario will continue. So our submission is not to bring about changes in the individuals, but also with the institutions, in the institution with which we work. Yeah.
And I may add what he told that is very important, that is a false promises. So after that, they never believe anybody. I know one geologist, he was working in the Deccan Trap, okay, which is practically there is no possibility of any such mineral deposits. And when he was asked, because he is an outsider working over that area, the locals, the tribals were asking, what for, sir, you were here roaming about in the hills and jungles. So everywhere he was telling, I am in search of very important mineral deposits, Sona, Chandi, Agada, Agada. So that is all crap. So we should never tell them such things. You tell ki we have come for, because even when there is no gold deposit, even where there is gold deposit, we do not know ki there is any gold deposit. After 5-6 years of dedicated work only we shall come to know that gold deposit is there. So never tell such things to the tribal people particularly. Tell whatever is truth. Let us tell that yes, these are सरकारी survey work. तो सरकारी survey चल रहा है. और कुछ नहीं, ये यहाँ का पत्थर अत्थर क्या है
Yes.
वही देखना है. That is the fact we have to tell them.
Yes. This is very correct. You know, these promises. We have many instances where people leave after giving this thing and people start searching where are the deposits. They'll be able to find. Now, the other thing is that humility, of course, is required. But, you know, I personally tell them that don't offer them any cigarette or bidi. No money. No money. But that is something which is very bad. When you go for your field work, you should have very little money. We also tell them no jewelry in case women are going for. You have to be as unassuming as they are. Simple, very simple dressed, the way they are. They should not take you as, I tell my student, as someone who is very rich. There's a phrase in UP, Dhanna Seth. Dhanna Seth means someone who is very rich, so having a big wallet. I mean, when I am in Delhi, I keep a wallet like this, although it doesn't have much money. I keep it, looks very, very fat. Huh? But there I never, because we should not be misinterpreted. And there is absolutely no doubt about the fact what Sir said, that we are government workers. And don't do such a thing. Also, if people offer you something, eat very little. Eat very little. Don't, show your avarice. There's a word in English, avarice. काजू ला के रखे, अपनी प्लेट आगे कर ली, सारे खा गए. No, don't have. और खा भी गए, थोड़ा जेब में भी रख लिया. So, this is good manners. So, these are important things. Actually, I always do one more thing. I think I must share with them. When we are going off a field work, I ask them where one can go for, say, for toilet purposes. You should know. Then maybe they may believe that some stone is lying somewhere. Yes. So I ask some men, I may go, may not go. That's a different thing. What are the sites where one can go? We have to be respectful to them. Okay. And then they would understand that we are respecting them. Okay. Learn the words, local words, use it. You may not pronounce them correctly, but it shows that you are desirous of learning. You want to imbibe, you want to internalize these things. These are very small human things. Whenever you carry out next work, you take me. I'll tell you how this can be done.